few weeks back, you may remember we told you about a story in Clayton County dealing with a squatter. A family's been trying to get that squatter out of their house, and state lawmakers now, they're working with them to try to figure out legislation to close some loopholes. Kevin Stewart joins us live for the update. And Kevin, I can only imagine how frustrating this is for that family that's trying to get this person out of their home.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating. As you recall, Ariel, I mean, we talked about it here on the stream. That was way back in late August, just before Labor Day, and that story really caught a lot of people's attention. A lot of people can relate to this. They were trying to get this woman, Camilla Ann Johnson, out of their home. They've owned this home for 10 years, and it was supposed to be extra income, and it wasn't supposed to be a burden, but she had been in this home not paying rent since July. And they were trying to get her out, but they kept running into all kinds of problems. I want to kind of give you another look at some of the video here. She got evicted finally by Clayton County deputies just before Christmas on December 22nd after a long battle. And really, what the big problem here is that Johnson had filed a number of appeals to keep from getting kicked out, even going to the federal court system, which of course has nothing to do with a local eviction. And this was kind of a strategy. What the family believes is basically kind of running out the clock to allow her to file appeals and stay in their home, and they were never getting paid any rent. And so they really want to work with state lawmakers to try to close these loopholes. I want you to take a listen to them.
Essentially speaking, when you get an eviction, you have 7 days to appeal it, and you're supposed to appeal it to the state court. And what Camilla Johnson did, as it was explained to us by attorneys, is that she decided to try to get this case taken out and taken over by the federal courts. And what that did was allow her to circumvent having to pay an appeals bond, which is pay back rent into the court. And then also, it's my understanding, according to attorneys and such, that when you apply to the federal courts, they have to accept that appeal, or whatever you want to call it, even if it has no merit. So they have to accept it. They have to go through the briefing stage. They have to provide extensions if you ask for extensions. And so it goes on and on and on.
And I hate to say this, but, a situation like this really takes away your ability to empathize with people. We went into this because we had a home that, we could rent out and try to cover our mortgage expenses while it was here, and be able to charge a lot less than the market rent in the area, a lot less. So we were like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, it might as well help somebody. So, by charging, way below the market value of the rent. Now we're like, what was the point of doing that?
Yeah, definitely disappointing for them. Their rent here was $1,300, and they've spent the last couple of weeks trying to clean up. There were some items that were left behind. The tenant got a U-Haul truck and was able to take away some things, but left some other things here, like headboards, and they got to figure out a way how to get rid of that stuff. One of the interesting things that they found when they got into the house, they said, was a smell of what they believe to be allegedly drugs, and more concrete, were two 85-inch TVs. And they felt, you would imagine, if you're not getting rent from someone, but you see two 85-inch TVs in the home, in your home that you're renting out, obviously you're going to feel some kind of way.
Yeah, Kevin, I think that I would. So my heart definitely goes out to the Phillips, because they are trying to have this secondary source of income, hardworking family like so many Americans. And now that they are kind of turning this into a situation where they say, let our experience help others, I give them all the kudos, because I see stories like this on TikTok and other social media platforms where people talk about their experiences with squatters, and just every state has different rules. But here in Georgia, it'll be interesting to see what they can achieve as they try to fix the situation.
Yeah, it's a story that we're going to continue to follow. They have spoken to a couple of lawmakers, and they did get a response recently, and so they're definitely they're not going to give up, because they said this is bigger than them. So they believe they've posted stuff on Facebook and got a lot of response, and a lot of people can relate to this. They lived here, moved to the city to what they thought was going to be a better situation for them, and they would rent out the house, use it as extra income, and eventually eventually pass it down to their son so he can get a leg up. But like I said, it ended up being a huge burden, and you heard, it changed their heart a bit, which is probably, you could argue it's probably the worst thing about it is that, you're trying to help folks because they could get more than $1,300 rent for this place, and they got abused.
Yeah, Kevin, you hit the nail on the head. Ultimately, I'm glad they were able to get that person out, and hopefully they can begin to look at next steps as they figure out what's next for the property, and they continue this journey. So Kevin, thanks so much for joining us in the conversation, and Happy New Year, Kevin.